All right, good evening, everybody. We don't appear to be inundated with numbers this evening, so let's get into it and give you some really good information that you can tell everyone else they miss out on, hey? How about that? I hope your year's going well to both boys and parents, obviously with the mid-year exams and other tasks that some boys would have been doing over the last fortnight. We're through a really significant part of the year, and I just want to take a moment before I hand over to Andrew Manley, Director of Teaching and Learning, and Ray Hill, Director of Curriculum, who are going to give the bulk of the presentation this evening. The rhythm of Year 12 is that for boys, especially those who are taking ATAR, will have been through some of the most challenging part of the year. And I say that from the point of view that after the exam results are back, disappointed, not happy, and everything in between, we get into term 3. For many of the boys, their co-curricular responsibilities, their other responsibilities, they will start to dissolve in the school. We have a track record of, and I can absolutely say this to you with great confidence, that we value add enormously at Hale in terms of final examinations. So it would have been the case for your sons that leading up to these mid-year exams that they would have been pressured with assessment at the same time in class, still continuing with their other co-curricular pursuits, and then, of course, having to prepare for exams. Boys, put your hands up if you felt the tension between tests and getting ready for exams. Throw your hands up, right? That won't be the case for the semester 2 exams. That will be, to some extent, easier. Many of the heads of department will be aiming for their curriculum to be, their courses to be finalised in the months of August and September. So there's a real uptick once you finish the course and then start to get your head around the whole course and prepare for semester 2 exams. Of course, then there's the September holidays, there's valedictory, and then a real focus on that final set of assessments. So I just wanted to describe that to you briefly, that if you're boys, if you've been working hard and feeling stretched from here, it's not that it gets easier, but you're able to focus more. And that's how it should have been. I hope too that the boys who put their hand up would say that they had good time, a good stretch of time to prepare for exams. It is a long exam period, intentionally so at Hale, and we think it works particularly well in Year 12. It gives boys enough time to be able to prepare and really learn and refine their assessment technique, revision technique. I hope that's something you saw. The other thing I wanted to say to you is, at the beginning of the year, I shouldn't say beginning, but during term 1, myself, Dr. Kudus, Mr. Bourne met with really every Year 12 student in our house groups in the boardroom. And we did that because we like to give the boys a couple of key messages of which they know, but we think is important. I hope your boys have talked to you about that. If your son is more like my son, then he probably hasn't, so let me tell you what I said. One or two of the things I said was, make sure you use the specialist services here at Hale, right? We intentionally bias the resources of Hale towards Year 12, and we talk through what those specialist services could be. Everything from careers, which I know you're going to hear about tonight, high-level academic advice from people like, Mr. Hill and Dr. Kudus, scholarship preparation. We talked even about alumni and how important alumni is in this space. If your son is like mine, he doesn't know what he wants to do next year, or he's certainly nowhere near making the final decision, to go to the school and say, who is first, second, third year out studying this course at this institution? Helen Planger can put the boys in contact with that old boy for your son to have a really in-depth conversation and ascertain whether or not that's what he wants to do. That's what's happening right now through the work of Mr. Manley as well. Boys who are applying and thinking about scholarships are working with boys who already have that scholarship or indeed applied, and that's something we can do for you. The other specialist service, of course, on a different set of notes is school psychologists. If your son is finding it difficult to manage, maybe remain focused. Of course, the head of house and others are there, but a school psychologist may be the best person to give 3 strategies for him to find even greater focus. There are many specialist services in the school. They're all there for your son. And most importantly, his head of house and his subject teachers are the experts in the room, right? Mr. Hill, Mr. Manley choose specifically teachers who are best in their field, right? So make sure your son make sure, boys, that you're using that. And the last thing from me before I hand over to Mr. Manley is, I just want to say again, I've had an Old Boys event in Melbourne last week. I had some time in both some universities and schools on the East Coast as well. We have seen an uptick in boys thinking about, university places interstate and definitely overseas. There's no doubt about that. Again, if your son is interested in that, please ask us for help. But the thing I also want to say really quickly is university is not like it was when we went through. And it doesn't matter whether your son's looking at cadetship, whether he's coming through ATAR pathway or otherwise, the landscape has changed. And the biggest danger for me as a parent is assuming it was the same that when I went through. It is a challenging transition to go from year 6 to year 7, but I think it's an even bigger transition to go from year 12 to first year. Don't underestimate that. So I just want to say again, I know some of you have heard in this forum, but forgive me for spending more of your money, but one of the things that's working really well for a lot of boys is to have 1 year in college as a safeguard to transition from what is often a university where there is just no atmosphere on campus anymore. Too many, in my view, too many online lectures, not enough campus atmosphere. And where I've seen boys, obviously look at a college placement for a period of time, it's been really helpful. You will know your son best, and boys, you'll know what you want to do. But even if you're staying in WA, don't discount that. If you think a college placement will help the transition, you may want to speak to me more afterwards if you want to. Thank you very much for being here tonight. I'll hand over to Mr. Manley. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Delore. You'll hear a lot of those comments echoed throughout the night from Mr. Hill and myself. So on the screen there, you'll just see a quick summary of what I'm going to cover through this evening before I hand over to Mr. Hill. But I just want to start by introducing you to, if you don't know who the team already, the Careers Department. Obviously, I work within the Careers Department as well as my other role. Mr. Wright, this is his primary role, does a lot of work, he's got a wealth of knowledge in the careers advice, university selection, alternative pathways, as it says there, and neither Mr. Wright nor I would be able to do our job without the fantastic work from Ms. Rapepi. She's also going through training in this as well, so she can do more than just administrative services. She sits at that front office and often answers and directs students almost in a triage capacity. And so she has got a wealth of knowledge and experience in this space too, and the three of us are there to help the boys and yourselves as much as we can. When we do meet, and we meet once every 7 days as a team, we often talk about the students that have been coming through our doors and meeting with us and the range of students. And, we get surprised every year, and I don't know why we're surprised every year because there's a similar narrative every year, that we see the full spectrum of, I suppose, understanding about their destination. So some students will enter through the door and have an absolute clear pathway, and all we are to do is just to confirm and support and maybe offer a few little extras that might make that pathway. Other students, and they might be cut from a similar academic cloth, will come in, and the first I say, okay, what's the plan for next year? Sir, I have absolutely no clue what I want to do next year. I'm just fully focused on this year. And so through a process, we hope to just open some doors, let them see some opportunities that they might not be aware of. A lot will be discarded, but some of those doors we open up might just allow them to see something that they didn't think was possible. So that's our goal, to help them and to help you. I just want to go into the early offers section, but before I do, without going too deep into this, just to give us a set of context around the early offers, because it is a moving feast and it's continuing to change. So if we look way back into that pre-COVID era, very consistent model for pathways into universities in Western Australia, and I'm going to focus on Western Australia here. It was in existence and it served us well and was very clearly defined. So the students entered through TISC. It was our centralised system, stable, consistent, and we enjoyed success at that. Of course, Notre Dame entered into the tertiary arena in Western Australia, or University of Notre Dame, Australia, entered into the arena in 1989, and sort of changed the landscape a little bit and talked about students more than their ATAR, and they're offering a direct pathway into university through a portfolio and an interview process. And they were making offers very early. My youngest son was a recipient of one of those. He wanted to do biomedicine and pre-med down there, and he got an offer, much to my wife's and I's surprise, very early in year 12, and that set off a string of conversations in our house about focus and continuing to strive to do your best through that. Then COVID hits and all bets are off right across the country, but particularly in Western Australia. Obviously with no university, international students, all the universities were scrambling for the domestic market. UWA was the first to flinch and introduce the early offers program. All the other universities followed suit, and there was a direct application. Many of those offers were presented to Year 12 students with their Year 11 results and were, in the truest sense, unconditional. Since that, post-COVID, we've seen a retreat away from that, thankfully, in our opinion, and we're now seeing greater alignment between the universities when offers will be made, some consistency across those 5 West Australian universities, and largely that has been a response to, a more stable student, or access to a more stable student, particularly international students, but also from the pressure from schools, from the government about almost like a race to the bottom or a race to mediocrity for uni entry. And we sort of got early offers 2.0 and 3.0. What did not change through that period was Hale's steadfast and consistent response. And that was the pursuit of personal excellence and high academic standards. We want every student to be aiming to do the best that they can do in all their subjects. We believe that's the best indicator of success once they leave the gates, Wembley Downs. A little bit of the sort of machinations that were going on in the background. You can see that there were some negotiations between the state government and TISC and ASWA. We were involved in that and supporting them. That was happening in 2022, and then in 2023, Andrew Taggart, who was looking after TISC at the time, got the universities onto the one page, and there was general agreement on early offers and when they would exist. So there's the 101 history. So where is it now? Thankfully, we're sort of back to the future, largely, with TISC being the main pathway for most university students entering university in Western Australia. TISC opened its doors for applications at the start of the month, and they will hold all university students' preferences, and I'll go into that a little bit more, and then distribute those in due course. Early offers, again, are on the table. They are conditional, even though the bar for some of those conditions is fairly low. But all universities have agreed this year to suspend any early offers until semester 2. You can see in 2023, that was in July. For this year, they've been pushed back to September, and we agree with that decision and support it fully. And of course, University of Notre Dame in Australia remains on track to run their Young Achievers program, so you can have a direct application. They sort of hedge their bets both ways at Notre Dame. You can go direct, or you can apply via TISC. There is no advantage in doing either. You won't be disadvantaged if you do it through TISC, I should say. And you can see there when they will start making their offers, they've agreed to pause till September in line with the others, but then will run at a different interval to the other universities. So how do you get that offer? Boys should be aware of this. Many of them have read their emails. Maybe they've had older brothers or sisters go through these processes and you've been able to support them, but they have got communication from the careers department. They need to register for TISC. It's a great idea. They'll need to know what they want to study. Hopefully they've been opening up those handbooks and digging around in courses. They've had meetings with either Toby, Mr. Wright or myself, and they're going to register with TISC. It's a simple application form process. They register there up to 6 courses. Of course, the Notre Dame can be direct. We're going to start looking at whatever is number 1 in their rank will be considered for their early offer, and those early offers, as I said, I know it's a little bit of doubling up of information, will be offered in start of September the 2nd, which I'm pretty sure is a Monday. I'm going to a little bit later on outline the next few steps because they will be staggered, those offers, but I'll outline those. As you've seen and what we've heard from the headmaster and from me already, we do support early offers, but we still strongly believe that ATAR is the best way to set yourself up for success. Boys should be picking and have picked some of the most challenging courses possible to them. This keeps as many doors open, and as we know, we don't want them just to get into university, we want them to succeed and flourish when they're at university. That means they're picking the right courses, they've done the right groundwork, and of course, as the headmaster said, they're actually on campus. They're not doing university via their lounge room or their bedroom. Are all the courses available? This, again, takes a little bit of digging around, and I couldn't list all of them up here on the screen, but yeah, the vast majority of them are. There are exceptions. Exceptions, if I take UWA, for example, that pathway is not available for assured pathways into medicine, dental medicine, pharmacy, I think in the Bachelor of Biomedicine Specialised, which is a relatively new course at UWA. It's only in its second year, first year. I think this is the second year it's been offered. So those courses are excluded from some of those, and some courses too that might have a quota. But the vast majority are there, it just takes a little bit of digging around in the handbooks for and the websites of those various universities to see what's available. But of course, a simple visit to the careers office or an email, and we can happily to assist in those things. Question I get asked from boys is, should I accept this early offer if I get it? Well, generally we feel if you do get an offer in one of those rounds and you're happy with what's presented to you, then accept it. It's in some ways a nice little psychological safety net for you as you move into the second half of the year. However, and a couple of boys came unstuck with this last year, that they would get an early offer from one of the universities and they just thought the email that came to them was all they needed to do. So there will be instructions in those emails on how to accept those early offers. You need to follow those procedures. But the good news, none of them are binding. So changes can be made throughout the process, right through to your final formal offer, which will become through TISC. And of course, remember, not all students accept early offers. It's common at Hale. A lot of our boys have predicted ATARs that are well in excess of the entry requirements, but across the state, over 30% of students are not participating in the early offer scheme. That's very different than our student population, but you're not disadvantaged if you do not. As I said, if you're not interested, feel confident in knowing that any places that do offer early offers will have enough spaces for students who come through more traditional TISC pathway, which will be offered post-exams. So there's no disadvantage if you just want to not get into the early offers game and you want to focus in on your studies and your other commitments at school, then that's perfectly acceptable. You won't be disadvantaged. What about changing your mind? Yes, you can change your mind. None of these offers are binding. You're free to go into the TISC website, reshuffle your sequences. You can even remove, as it said, an offer. Once you reshuffle, get a second offer. You can wait till December, regardless, and you can wait till December regardless of early offers. Can you get multiple offers? Well, you can sort of game the system here and get multiple offers, but there's a word of caution with regards to this. So on the TISC website, it does say you can get multiple offers. So a student could go into TISC now. They could put a course, let's say they pick something like commerce as their first preference at UWA. The first round of offers come through in September. They get that offer. They go through the process. They accept that. and then they reconsider. Maybe the family moves closer to Curtin University. And so they reconsider and say, well, you know, I've changed my mind. I think I'm going to go to Curtin University. I'm still going to do commerce. They'll go back into their TISC. They'll reshuffle that order. They'll put TISC at the top. They'll put Curtin at the top of that list. Nice sideline for them. They're going to get a reasonably high ATAR. They're going to get an ATAR of over 97, so that's a nice little bonus. They'll get a $15,000 inducement to go across to Curtin University with an ATAR of that number. They put that in their pocket. And now they've got two offers. So they've got a commerce offer from UWA and they've got a commerce offer from Curtin University. And they can sit on both of those offers right through until they make their final decisions. So you can do that. Here's the word of caution. Last year, post-exam results coming out, so I think it was about the 19th of December, we got a call from a family, a boy very concerned. I thought he had accepted an early offer to his BPhil at UWA and reshuffled his offer, reshuffled his TISC process, got a second offer, accepted that as well, then decided to go back to his original UWA only to find that that had gone. And so panic ensued because that's really where he wanted to be. So we were able to, parents were proactive, they went into the university, they sat down with the future careers people, we were on the phone as well, and the good news story is he was accepted into that and started university at the start of the year at his course that he wanted to do. But there was an enormous amount of stress for about 48 hours for that family. We're not quite sure what happened. What I suspect he did was that when he reshuffled his selections, he put another UWA course as number one, and then they looked at that in their round of offers, and the BPhil disappeared and the new one was replaced. So you can get multiple offers, but not from the same institution. As soon as you do that, the original one becomes redundant and the new offer is replaced. We're not quite sure what happened. We weren't going to sweat that too much. We just wanted to ensure he got where he wanted to go and things worked out well for him. I think that's probably it. So when will these early offers be presented? As I've said, the first one comes out on that 2nd of September, and then they'll follow through, as you can see, on those dates. It's fairly consistent to last year. Of course, last year we started in July, and they just rolled out every month on the month. So the sequence is a little bit different as they try and get enough early offers in until we move into December. So that's the state of play for Western Australia. That's the focus primarily of this, but I want to touch a little bit on what the headmaster was talking about, which was interstate universities and the uptick of our students heading across to East Coast universities. Mr. Hill's going to give you some stats a little bit in his presentation. But I'm sure we're all familiar that there are different systems, different versions of TISCs in other states that you will apply through. And their early offers programs are unique to each of their states. Some there don't exist, some exist that you can apply direct, some are combinations. But once again, we're here to help. If we don't know the answers, we'll search those out, we'll get them back to you hopefully within 24, 48 hours. There's been boys in my office on some occasions. We've needed to find an answer. We just got on the phone. In fact, I remember one conversation, it was a university in Victoria. We just got on the phone, we rang their careers, we got the right person on the end of the telephone, we put it on speaker. Boy and I answered all the questions, got all the questions listed down, we answered them all. He walked away very happy and we had the information accurate and from the horse's mouth. So we're there to help. There is a lot of information that comes across our desk regarding interstate universities, open days, and I just want to touch on a few of those just to highlight what we can do to assist students. Last year, boys in Year 11, Year 12 this year, came and spoke to me, interested in doing some study at University of Melbourne. We've located when their open day was. That wasn't going to work with their family's commitment, but they were going to be in Melbourne during our holiday period. We were able to ring the university. He was considering residential experience as well. We were able to contact them. they were able to get a pretty much a personalised tour into the residential college with his family, and they got to speak. We were able to do all that legwork in the background for you, and we're happy to do so. Last year, similarly, we've sort of been building a stronger relationship with Bond University. They will support any interested families to go across to Bond. They subsidise some of the costs of travelling for their open day. So while we have to pay for accommodation, a chaperone has to go with them, and a parent. The Bond University will put you up in a hotel for 2 nights for West Australians on the Gold Coast. You go across. It's a wonderful experience. One of our boys, a couple of the boys were interested in I think 5 went last year that we were able to arrange. 4 of those boys were interested in the film industry. One of them was interested in elite swimming program, and he got to swim with we were able to arrange for him to swim with their, extremely elite swim program, and for him that was just an amazing experience. There's Olympians he's swimming with. So we're able to do that. Information evenings, they just keep rolling out. And we can't publish these all the time because there's just so many of them. But if you are interested at any of these universities, you just need to fire us an email, ask the boy to pop in, make an appointment. We'll have all those resources at our fingertips. We can find when they are. You can register for the webinars. If you're unable to get to them, we're here to support you. And of course, key dates, these things also for scholarships, for when the different versions of TISC open up on the eastern states. They're all on different dates, different schedules and different timelines. We've got access to that information. All you need to do is ask, and we'll be happy to support. In the same way, the last point for me was just talking about residential life. The headmaster mentioned the benefits, the rich experiences that come with living in a residential college at university. Early this term, I was at a wonderful evening at St Catherine's College, a sort of a formal dinner there, and there was invited guests, there were dignitaries, the keynote speaker was Peter Bowl, the Olympian. Every single person, we sat around in academic gowns, students and guests. We had a wonderful dinner. That richness of experience and the atmosphere that was on display at that night was phenomenal. And you don't get that experience unless you live in a residential college. So I wholeheartedly concur with the headmaster's observation that it is something that people should consider. We have contacts with those universities. We've got students at Hale, at I think all colleges this year, but we've got personal contacts at St George's and at University Hall, at St Cat's and at Trinity. We can take boys on tours. We can arrange to help them with their interview processes as well, and we look forward to doing that. And let's not exclude St Cat's, which has opened up over at Curtin University, those students. I haven't been there yet, but I've heard that the quality of the accommodation is top-notch. And just a point on this one, I was with a boy last week, and he was talking about studying down at Notre Dame in Fremantle, but was interested in residential colleges, but wasn't aware that you could live in College Row and go to any university. You don't just have to go to UWA. The only exception there, of course, is University Hall. The rest of those colleges, you can study at any of the universities in Western Australia and live there, even though the majority will go to UWA. Last one, slow trickle, but more interest of boys even looking further afield into overseas universities. We are here to help again in that space in any way we can. The level of our experience and expertise in that is probably a little bit shallower than it is in the domestic, but we're building contacts and connections with those universities. And we're here to do whatever we can for any family who've got those. I know a lot of boys are also considering a university experience as part of their undergraduate program, which is a smart way. It's sort of like a try before you buy. And of course, if they're lucky enough to get into something like a BPhil, then that sort of experience is built into those programs as well, even at a postgraduate level. So we're here to guide and advise And it's not unusual for us to be supporting boys in Year 13 with those sorts of applications. I've been helping boys now. He's probably Year 14 as he embarks on a bit of university work in the United States. So that's it. It's a brief overview with some finer grained detail in bits and pieces. Boys and any parents who speak to your boys, if they haven't already done so, please encourage them to make an appointment with someone. Toby and I have had literally hundreds of one-to-one meetings over the course of the year already, but we're happy to have as many as are required. For some students, it's 1, 2 at big intervals. Others, I know Si's in the email, and Si's in the audience, and as we were coming in, he said, "Sir, I've just sent you about 5 emails this afternoon." So some boys, it's a higher frequency. As I said many times, we're here to do whatever we can to support your sons when they make that transition from Wembley into university life. I'll hand over to Mr. Hill, and he's got some other content.
Thanks, Mr. Manley, and thank you for joining us this evening. As Director of Studies and Curriculum, part of my role is to analyse the Year 12 results and to monitor and track students' performances as they go out through the year. And entering university is a primary or motivating factor for those Year 12 students. So it may be important to first point to destinations that happened for the 2023 cohort into this year. As you can see there, the majority of boys were heading to WA in that particular year. That demographic changes from year to year. If I went back to 2021, Curtin University was the choice destination. But as we navigate our way out of this COVID environment and wade through the various variants that are occurring, interstate universities, as we've heard multiple times this evening already, hold particular attraction for our students for a number of reasons. So you can see that number will grow each year of interstate and overseas universities. On the next slide is just a myriad of courses and destinations, and I really just show you that slide to say that the interests of Hale boys are wide and varied. We will help you to get there. We have a number of contacts in many different universities, as Mr. Manley has said, through many avenues. We've got a wide network of old Halians that will be able to access, and they will support you in attending the courses and universities of your choice. On this slide, you can see there some of the interstate and overseas universities that our cohort attended from 2023. The first thing, the headline is that all your sons will go to universities through whatever pathway they go through. So getting that early offer is a nice feeling, I guess, but you are going to university anyway. The universities are trying to secure your place at their institution, and Hale boys are in high demand. So please, I'm going to urge caution here with your early offer. The most important thing is to exit high school achieving your best result for a number of reasons. And I'm going to highlight these over the next few slides so that just be aware of the importance of doing one's best in that final exam to maximise your options and your potential moving forward, which is why we've been attending high school for all these years. The first thing is, and I repeat this message over and over, the ATAR exams are probably the only set of exams in your life where your results affect the collective from your cohort. So it's a team sport, gentlemen, these ATAR exams. Your results do affect others in the group because of the moderation, standardisation and scaling that occurs with the scores. So independent to what you achieve in these exams or the semester 2 exams, it's your results in the ATAR exams which dictate how you score at the end of the day. So for that reason, all boys will be looking to maximise their results in their final ATAR. So with the conditional offers that come out in September, we need to put that to one side and focus on the results, because there's a lot of boys that will be aiming for those selective places and that will require in their ATAR, and there's some other parts which I'm going to speak to in a second. So conditional offer pitfalls. We did go through a phase where there were unconditional offers that ended up being conditional when they entered university. I think aiming for a minimum ATAR has concerns. I remember a boy from 2 years ago that was going to UWA. He had his conditional offer with him. He just needed the minimum 80 ATAR, so he aimed for 80 ATAR just to see how close he could get. He had achieved the 78.9 ATAR at the end of the day and wasn't offered his course at UWA. I knew that he had limped into that course, but he came to me for a reference to try to get into this course. He did receive a reference from me and he did actually get into his course, but it is ill-advised to be taking that approach. Not only did he just get into the course, but he would have affected other boys in the course around him, which was quite frustrating for a number of his mates. There's two aspects to these conditional offers, and one is the minimum ATAR requirement, and the other is the English competency, which if you read, I think it was page 3 of the West today, or maybe it was page 7 of the West, about Curtin University changing their English competency requirements, whereby if you don't get a scaled score of 50 in English, as long as you've got a C in English or a mark in the exam greater than 55%, or an A in general English, then you satisfy those requirements. So there's 4 or 5 ways to get into Curtin University to satisfy the English requirement. At UWA currently, as of today, you must receive a scaled mark greater than 50 in ATAR English or ATAR Literature to meet that requirement. And on the next page, I'm going to explain what that means for our boys. And this may all change in the next month, so just bear with me. To get a scaled mark greater than 50% in English, it's independent of the grade you get. So 96% of students in the state will get a C grade or better in ATAR English. And I'll be pleased to say that at last year's cohort, everyone at Hale achieved a C grade or better in ATAR English or English Literature, means they all passed that course. However, after the scaling model is applied, and if you know anything about standard distributions or normal distributions, the ATAR English is on 58% and the standard deviation of 14. So if you quickly do your Z scores in your head, that means that 28% of boys after scaling will achieve a scaled mark in English less than 50, or boys and girls, or anyone in the state. So that means that approximately 2,600 students achieved a scale score below 50 in 2023. Now, they didn't fail the course, they achieved a C, but because of the scaling model applied, then they were deemed to have not had a final scale score greater than 50. What does that mean for them? Well, they still entered university, but they received a little shock, I imagine, when they saw they had their ATAR, say a 90 ATAR, but did not receive the English requirement, so maybe they got a 48 scaled mark after getting 60 throughout the year. They sat the STAT test, the literacy test, or they chose to set an extra communication unit in the first year uni, and then they got in that way. Please, so how do our boys get away from this? Well, to aim for this and not get scaled below 50, it's not enough to get a C. You must get a mark above 60% in the examination and throughout the year, which places you in the top 70% of the state. Now, as the number of kids in the state, number of ATAR kids in the state diminish, that means it's going to continue to be more students being placed in the tail or the bottom 30%. Hopefully that makes any sense. Sorry, as a math teacher, I like to get excited about the statistics. All students need to know is that if they do get, they're aiming for a mark above 60 in their exam for English. If they're below that, then their mark may be scaled below 50, which means they'll have to sit a STAT test or a communications unit. I'll speak to boys a little bit more about this throughout the year. And as I said, it may be that UWA changes their entry requirements for this English at some later stage, which would make these talks easier for me. The minimum ATAR requirement, you don't want to enter university being the lowest person in the course. You want to enter university being one of the best students in the course. So aim for the medium or higher score. And often in university, that could be a very high score. I'm going to speak about scholarships on the next slide and the number of scholarships we've been awarded because of our higher ATAR success. And the pleasing thing about Hale is that you're in a well position to achieve those scholarships. The best preparation for success in year 12, as I said at the start of the year, was success in year 11. The best indicator of success at university is success in year 12. So you want to make sure in year 12 you're achieving your personal best to give you that confidence for success in your course at first year uni. All right, on to scholarships. So the intrinsic reward of doing one's best in school may not be enough for some. So here's some of the major scholarships awarded last year for our 2023 cohort. The number of scholarships, or the monetary value of scholarships the last 3 years is almost $750,000 for Hale boys, which is something quite significant. You can see students either entering Curtin with their scholarship, and I'll explain how that goes. Interstate, we always pump our weight for interstate applications. They're attracted by Hale students. We have a breadth of education, but also with our sporting and co-curricular, our community service, with the high ATAR and the good reputation of alumni, we are able to secure those top scholarships at some of our interstate universities. And what do those scholarships look like? Mr. Manley mentioned previously the Curtin Excellence Scholarship for an ATAR between 96 and 97 is $5,000 a year, which is not insignificant, and above 97, which is almost 30% of our cohorts in some years, $15,000 can be awarded to students, which is why I think 3 years ago this was the university of choice for many students. UWA Fogarty Scholarship, you can see $10,000 per annum. The Winthrop Scholarship up to $80,000 if you are successful in achieving those. And over Leaf, there's ECU scholarships, Notre Dame scholarships. There's pages and pages of scholarships for each university. It's worthwhile having a look through these if you haven't already, just to see whether you're eligible and what you need to do to achieve them. It may be that just receiving a bursary towards a college placement interstate may be something you're aiming for. So please look at these things as motivators, if you will, for ATAR success. Some of the lessons learned from previous years. We've got large support structures in place at Hale for you to optimise your learning and to get the most out of Year 12. We have a really strong academic culture, and we've got a strong team culture, it should be said, that boys will get together after those second semester exams and really teach each other, work hard in the library, and then aim for that group success so they can maximise their ATAR. Maximising the ATAR will open many doors and opportunities, whether it's scholarships or different courses, but also can set you up for changing courses if you wish, or moving between institutions. So once you receive that result, it is currency for future years. We have gone through an era of COVID where there's been lots of disruptions, which has been a real test for our systems internally. But we are pleased to say that we have ridden through that well. All our teachers, I think it's highlighted to us the dedication of our teaching staff that will go above and beyond to support you, gentlemen. I saw as evidence in semester one exams, nearly all English teachers there, 3, 4, 5 days beforehand, looking to help students one-on-one with any of their essays. And this is replicated through every department within the school. So please take advantage of those teachers that are really keen for you to achieve your personal best. We are well resourced. We do have access to all the past exam papers. We have access to textbooks and support networks, old boys, so make the most of those. I think that one of the key reasons that Hale does so well in final examinations is that teamwork, as I mentioned before, whether through sporting or co-curricular. You guys are closely bonded for a reason, and we yield the benefits of that in those final exams. All right, what should you be doing now? As the semester one is often the hardest term as far as balancing out all the commitments that you need to do. And semester one examinations will be, for the majority of you, the lowest exam mark that you will receive in Year 12. Why is that? It is because it's often a 3-hour exam on half a semester's or half a year's worth of material, so we can go into greater depth through that exam paper. So if I use something like methods for an example, differentiation counts as 3 questions in the final ATAR exam, but in our semester 1 exam it was 7 questions. And in those 7 questions we could really pull apart your knowledge, which we have done successfully in most cases. So if you continue to work at those questions, there is a breadth of topics in the final exam, but often the depth is a little bit shallower, so you can achieve better results. Reviewing semester 1 exams over this week is key. Please listen intently, ride the disappointment or the highs of your marks, but take notes, make refinements to your notes page, look at these things carefully, listen to your teachers, because these questions will come up again at the end of the year. The 3-week break really is an opportunity to rest and revise and read ahead, the 3 R's, I guess, redefined. There's Hale Waste Plus revision programs if you wish to attend that, which most boys will be familiar with. Opportunity to recalibrate goals happens as well ahead of your final ATAR results. It may be that you're disappointed with some results. Well, set goals, work out what you need to do to achieve to improve those. If you are looking to improve those results by 20-30%, it is achievable. We have done it for many years in the past, so take advantage of the systems in place to support you. And as said previously, the purpose of this today is to educate yourselves on the university application process and scholarships. All right. I'll just leave you with a quote here. And the point of this quote is just to set a high, ambitious goal in high school and don't take a backward step. We are all here to support you, as mentioned previously, and we look forward to you achieving those goals in the remainder of the year. Now, that is the end of the presentation. Mr. Laura, did you wish to say anything to conclude? Are there any questions that you may like to ask that we haven't already covered in this presentation with the group? Please feel free. None? Okay. We are available for questions afterwards. Thank you for your attendance this evening.